Welcome to our Robot Wars Vengeance special. Throughout the last two series of Robot Wars, we've had fights where controversy and disagreements have arisen after battles, and we've decided to respond by letting them all fight out their disagreements. So let's head down to the battle board to see how Vengeance fights, and provide context for each one. Oh, I'm looking forward to these Vengeance fights. This is going to be very entertaining, and here is the first 259 former reigning champions and Almighty Curse, who fought back in Series 1 as Tomb of Despair, don't forget, and that's actually where this vengeance comes from. They fought in the preliminaries, 259 through Tomb of Despair up and over very easily, before then tangling with Kilohertz to leave Tomb of Despair to be counted out as immobilized. But then they righted Tomb of Despair, and this is the problem. Tomb of Despair slammed 259 against the wall, and 259 could not move. They could not get away, and it had to go to the judge's decision because Tomb of Despair were holding 259. That was mainly because 259, no, not 259, Tomb of Despair, sorry, stopped moving. I think the batteries gave. And 259 were not very happy with that. That's what this vengeance fight is all about. So, let's get the fight underway. Spinner. Our now former reigning champions was quite a shocking surprise to see them crash out as early as they did. The Giant Blade was still able to cause problems for other machines it came up against. The weapon is extremely dangerous, but there is no self-righting mechanism on board, which causes a problem. Almighty Curse. Axebot. The vicious Sledgehammer has quite a few party tricks. It can be used to cave in the opposing robot's skull as well as to help itself right, decided to help stop machines from getting underneath. Unfortunately, however, the rear is quite exposed.
Roboteers, stand by.
259 with the big flywheel, and Almighty Curse with the side skirts and the giant bot tenderizer.
3, 2, 1.
Who will be victorious in this there Almighty Curse? The first attack! But look at this! 259 takes it to their advantage! A great self-righting! And it's only been a couple seconds. Look at this! There's Almighty Curse with the hammer blow, but 259 takes advantage, throws them into the air, but quick self-righting there from Almighty Curse. The back panel of 259 now sitting on the floor, so that's come off, and Almighty Curse taking the hit a lot better from 259 than they were in the last wars with Tomb of Despair. It has to be said. A more effective weapon as well, stronger armor. The drive, however, I don't think it's as good when it comes to turning. The turn circle is bad. I think it was better than with Tomb of Despair. Meanwhile, Almighty Curse dropping the hammer down on 259 to do some damage. Is it doing any damage? I wonder. There! That will definitely do damage to Almighty Curse from 259 underneath Almighty Curse, but the hammer of Almighty Curse still effective, still slamming down. 259 stuck on the side. They're free now. Slamming into the weaponry. And now, Almighty Curse pitting 259 against the wall while dropping their hammer. They sort of did that in the last wars with Tomb of Despair. They got flipped up and over, they righted, and then they held them against the wall. I think they broke down. They're not breaking down this time. They're a lot stronger, sturdier construction, tougher armor. And a great battle. They were able to take the hits from 259 a lot better than Tomb of Despair, so that has to be said. But again, the turn circle is not great. And now, up and then to the pit, and 259 nearly flung up and over for themselves. Look at this. There they go. And up and over. Nope. Back down while Almighty Curse falls into the pit. And they're hammering themselves deeper into the pit. Well, sure, why not? I think the winner is clear. 259. Almighty Curse standing up much better to the blade of 259, but the fight ends the same with 259 coming out victorious. Now for vengeance number 2. Firestorm and Harvester, and we saw this last week, don't forget. The two fought before in the wild card for Series 3, and this was Harvester underneath Firestorm, pushing them against the wall, and Firestorm's own rear spike did them in. It got impaled between the wall and the floor, and Firestorm could not escape. Firestorm immobilized, and Harvester shockingly went through, and Firestorm mainly wants to give a much better fight. And hey, who were we to say no? Firestorm Flipper. Quite a surprise that they didn't go further than what they actually did. Smidsy were the ones to put an end to that. The low front is designed to make the machine able to easily get underneath any other machine for the front flipping arm, but there is a high ground clearance at the rear, and the arm is very slow. Harvester Spinner! Designed to look like a tractor, which it sort of pulls off. The front mulcher on the front of the machine will help them turn their opponents into metal compost, and the rear spikes to add additional protection. But the big exposed wheels give the machine a very high ground clearance, which can be taken advantage of, and the wheels each have a separate drive chain, which are all exposed.
Robot ears, stand by.
Firestorm with the flipping arm and the rear spike, and Harvester with the rear spikes and the front mulching combine blade.
3, 2, 1.
So I mentioned the big wheels, but well, we saw that, and I don't think we saw that last time. Firestorm throwing Harvester up and over, now righting them. So far, Firestorm doing a lot better than they did in the wildcard special. Harvester a little bit perplexed and confused. Firestorm a lot more dominant. And I'm wondering, can Harvester... Well, was Harvester's victory a fluke? It's definitely seeming so, and I think there might be drive issues as well, so that might also be going against Harvester, which, if that is the case, that's not really fair, but then again, it wasn't fair. What happened to Firestorm getting pinned by their own spike, throwing Harvester up and over again. Now, Harvester using the grinding blade to do some damage to Firestorm. That could be useful. Did you just flip them over the spike? Well done. And now Firestorm to get underneath again and attempt to lift them, but not doing well. And now up and over again. And now, what can Firestorm really do here? Is there anything Firestorm can do? I think Firestorm is trying to throw Harvester back up and over. And instead, they've got the lifting arm where the wheel is, so they can now drag Harvester around. That's interesting. And drag them towards the pit and down it. And that's the end of Harvester into the pit. And Firestorm gets the vengeance. And a very happy so. Well done, Firestorm. Commiserations to Harvester. But, like before, Harvester will be seen in Series 3. Firestorm gets their vengeance as Harvester crashes into the pit, but we'll be seeing Harvester in Series 3, no doubt about that. Now for vengeance number 3, Tornado and TR2. And this actually stems back to when they fought in the preliminaries in Series 2. They also fought Windgrow, but Windgrow stayed out of the fight for the most part. Here we go, this is Tornado. They released the pit, and then they came in on TR2. But TR2 then flipped them, and kept flipping them. And Tornado They mainly think that they have the power to defeat TR2, even though they got flipped into the pit. Show us what you can do then. Tornado Rambot. The main weapon for Tornado, despite what's on the front, is actually brute force. And with how compact the machine is, they can dish out the slams and come out completely unscathed, which can be beneficial as well as being able to run upside down. Unfortunately, it doesn't protect it from flippers, which are known to give it a hard time. TR2 Flipper. About as successful as they were in the last wars, the Flipper is still as strong as ever with quick drive. The rear little axe thingy I don't really think does anything, if I'm being honest. However, there is a limited gas supply, meaning they need to time their flips just right. Otherwise, they'll be sitting ducks.
Roboteers, stand by.
Tornado with the brute force with the spinning drum attached, and TR2 with the CO2 powered flipper and whatever the little axe thing is on the back.
3, 2,
Does that not do anything? I honestly have no clue. I don't think it does. Tornado. You want vengeance, and yet you're running away from TR2, who takes advantage and throws them into the air, and again, this time up and over, and now I don't know what way they are. That's the problem with Tornado, is you can never tell which way's upright, which way's reverse. But now, Tornado, I think, are feeling a bit discombobulated, if anything, and TR2 throws them out, and that's the end of Tornado. Out they go. They try to get their vengeance from the preliminary stages of their heat together, and they have sadly faltered, and TR2 ends it by throwing themselves up and over. Oh, lovely jubbly. Then, nope, up into the air, and nothing else. But TR2 wins it. Commiserations to Tornado, they couldn't get their vengeance this time. TR2 took it away from them. Now, the only four-way melee between Dietor, Mortis, Cobalt, and Hypnodisc, and those three all have it in for Dietor back in the first heat of the last wars. This is Mortis' reason, as they took on Snowstorm. Dietor struck the underbelly of Mortis, immobilized them, set them on fire, and Mortis became completely immobilized. They were dead, had to wait on Snowstorm to pit them. This was the fight against Cobalt and Behemoth, actually, in the Silver Rumble. Behemoth having problems, and Dietor slammed them out the arena. Still impressed with that. Then later in the fight, Cobalt began suffering battery failure, and they could not move. And Dietor waited for the minute 30 mark to open the pit and throw Cobalt down it, which they did as they were on top of it. Cobalt down and out. And Hypnodisc in the death or glory. The last 10 seconds, watch this here. It nearly went to the judges, and Hypnodisc tried to pit Dietor to no avail, and Dietor instead pits them just before cease. Very lucky, all not happy with Dietor. Dietor Spinner. They sadly weren't as impressive as they were in the last wars. The blade also didn't seem to be as devastating as before either, which immobilized Mortis in the very first fight of the last wars and even tossed out Behemoth. The invertible design may offer some form of help, but other than that, I feel like this machine may no longer be as effective. Mortis Axebot. The silicon carbide coated armor did help Mortis take hit after hit in the series. Too bad we didn't see much else from them. The Tando Axe is still a blade we are told to look out for, and the lifting arm can still right them when flipped. Too bad they can't do anything about the ground clearance. Cobalt Spinner. They have definitely improved since the first wars. They decimated everyone that came into contact with the new lethal blade except for Earthquake, who they had already beaten. But the major issue they had last time was battery related. They fixed it, and now there literally doesn't seem to be any weaknesses to this machine. Hypnodisc Spinner. The 9000 RPM flywheel is very dangerous. Too bad we never got to see that this series, nor did we really get to see the self-righting mechanism. The drive is still as quick as it was last wars, as is the issue with the exposed wheels.
Robot ears, stand by.
The only four-way rumble for the Vengeance tonight: Dietor, Cobalt, Mortis, and Hypnodisc.
3, 2, 1.
All three of these machines want a piece of Dietor for what happened in the first wars, and Cobalt definitely coming in strong, while Hypnodisc deals with Mortis, and Hypnodisc and Mortis have a bit of a grudge as well. They're fighting against Atomic. Meanwhile, Cobalt on the attack on Dietor. Is something wrong with Hypnodisc? I wonder. Cobalt throwing Mortis up and over. Dietor comes in to inspect, and over goes Dietor. But look at that. Well, up goes Mortis. They self-right. Dietor hits the flywheel of Hypnodisc, but Mortis flung into the air by Cobalt. And they're stuck up and over. Their flipping arm, it's wedged open. They cannot right themselves there. They are immobilized, and I think Hypnodisc are also immobilized. Hypnodisc trying to right themselves, and do so now. But I think Hypnodisc well and truly immobilized. And is there life in Dietor? I don't think so. Mortis, there's no life in Mortis. They have flipping arms holding them. They can't get any purchase. They can't right themselves. Dietor, Cobalt coming in to make one last attack, but they don't need to. Cease is called. The only machine left alive. And that is such a shame for the other machines to get their chance at victory against Dietor. Cobalt, last bot standing. They get vengeance, and they also beat it. Well, they're the only bot standing, really. Only one who got their vengeance. Hopefully, next time round, Mortis and Hypnodisc can get their vengeance on Dietor just like Cobalt did, but that'll have to be for another time, because right now, it's time for another vengeance fight between the spinning blade of Endgame and the CO2-powered flipper of Chaos 2. And to any of you wondering what this is all about, this dates back to the grand finals of the last wars. In the Gold Rumble first off against 259, Endgame could push everyone around with their front plow no problem, but as you can tell, the spinning blade wasn't working, and Chaos 2 took advantage and threw them up and over, and not even the Shremek worked. The self-righting mechanism couldn't bring them back, and then Chaos 2 got buffeted by 259 and even lost. And then in the Death or Glory, the major weapon part for the weapon of Endgame came off from the flip of Endgame. And then, later on, after Yova Turno got immobilized, Chaos 2 flipped Endgame up and over again, and again the Shremek wasn't working. That's what this is all about. They want major vengeance. Endgame Spinner. The blade is extremely dangerous, as proven in the series, as it battered machines over and even out of the arena. The self-righting works too, though we never really saw it used, and it's got a very strong drive with the front plow, but the exposed wheels are the main issue the machine has. Chaos 2 Flipper. They had a very dominant heat before falling in the semi-finals. The flipper is very strong and the bot is fast and nippy, but it isn't great at shoving other machines, and there is quite a high ground clearance.
Robot ears, stand by.
Endgame from New Zealand with the spinning blade and the front plow. And the English machine, Chaos 2, with the CO2-powered flipper.
3, 2, 1.
Not to mention the very nippy drive, although right now Endgame has them beat there and throws them into the air, and again, this time onto the side, but they come down quick, and so far, Endgame seems more on top. Chaos 2 thrown over, they can self-right. Chaos 2 is definitely getting battered here by Endgame, and this is very good stuff here. And Endgame very much on top and seemingly in control. Is there a problem with Chaos 2? They seem stuck against the wall, and I'm wondering if there is a problem. There probably is. You can see sparks coming out from Chaos 2, and I'm wondering if one of the motors is gone. I think it has. Maybe. No, we'll see. Chaos 2 still trying to come in. I think there is a problem though for Chaos 2. And Endgame definitely has them beaten. Oh, how did they survive that? Nearly out of the arena. Look at this from Endgame. Bang! Rolled on the wall. And just staying in the competition. And that is a rarity. We know Endgame has the power to smash machines out of the arena. I think the wheel is okay. So, it's the drive though. I think Chaos 2's taking more damage than we may have suspected here. The drive is not as strong. And now Chaos 2 throws Endgame over, and I think that's the first time we've actually seen the self-rating mechanism of Endgame. And throwing Chaos 2 across the floor! Off comes the flipper! The flipper's gone! That's it! That's the end of the weapon! Look at this! Bang! It's sheared off! The entire flipper's gone! And with that gone goes the entire weapon of Chaos 2! They cannot right themselves! They cannot do anything to Endgame! They are somehow still mobile! The electronics are more exposed than ever! There is somehow still alive! Look down on the floor! I think that's the mechanism for the flipper! There is somehow still life in Chaos 2! It was like this in the fight with 259! Don't forget, where they defeated Endgame! Chaos 2! Resilient! But I think their resilience has come to an end here. There's no movement now. And I think it's the end for Chaos 2. One nudge and into the pit. And that's it for Chaos 2. Endgame gets their revenge. And a very well done performance too. They've ripped off the flipper to Chaos 2. And have battered it into submission. And have dropped it into the pit. A well-fought victory for Endgame. Well done to Endgame for getting their vengeance on Chaos 2, who will have to seriously repair themselves if they intend of competing for Series 3. Meanwhile, it's time for the 6th vengeance fight of the night between the Flipper of Blip and the Lifting Bucket of Behemoth. And to those of you wondering what this is all about, this is actually going back to Heat 3 of Series 2, where Blip seemed to be controlling Behemoth very well. And then this was the major problem for Blip. They got stuck underneath the back end of the Super Heavyweight competitor Backwhacker, and then got stuck on top, and Behemoth used that to their advantage by pushing them up and flipping them, which Backwhacker took to causing major problems and even set them on fire. I think Behemoth then tried flipping them out the arena. But that's what this is all about. Blip controlling Behemoth and claiming to be far better than Behemoth. And they want to truly prove it. Well, isn't that a happy face? Blip is a four-wheel drive machine with a flipping weapon and two front forks to help get underneath its opponents. The machine is very fast and the armor is quite tough, but the flipper isn't as effective as the team would like because of where and how they built it. Behemoth Lifter! The lifting bucket has definitely improved since last wars. In fact, the entire machine has. Get into the death or glory before crashing out in fantastic fashion. The bucket has more power and the machine is capable of righting itself, but the rear has a higher ground clearance than anywhere else on the machine, and it's easily flippable.
Roboteers, stand by.
Blip with the CO2 flipper in a really weird place, and Behemoth with the CO2 powered lifting bucket. This will be an interesting flip off.
3, 2, 1.
And I say that because one machine's weapon is more effective than the other because of how it's placed. Although, same speed, and it doesn't seem Blip really needs that flipper because they can drive at Behemoth and then get the flipper in and throw them. So, the flipper may be in a weird place, but they can use it and they can still drive like a battering ram. Behemoth now slamming into Blip. Blip driving away. They're both as quick as each other. And again, throwing Behemoth up and over. Can Behemoth now get underneath Blip? No. Which is interesting. I think the front forks helped get underneath Behemoth, and then the front can also be used as a sort of battering ram, which is very interesting. So while it's the weirder design, it is quite effective. And was that smoke I saw? I feel like that's what I witnessed. I think I saw smoke. I am not really sure, but Blip once again underneath Behemoth, maybe to throw them up on their back. Probably not the greatest idea. Oh, that's a good idea! Throw them onto their flipping scoop! And you could have left them there, actually. You chose to put them back, and now pushing them onto the spike. This is great. Blip is 100% on top, and it's definitely proof here that if the fight had gone on and Blip hadn't experienced the problems they did, Blip would have dominated Behemoth and throws him into the air, and had that actually taken some actual momentum, they probably could have gone out the arena there. I think Blip is definitely more on top than Behemoth. Behemoth are extremely in trouble. They cannot do anything. They cannot get underneath Blip. They cannot bring their weapon into play properly. This is all Blip. Is there a problem with Behemoth? No, they're getting away onto the spike. Blip is there okay? I think. Hang on. That was smoke I saw. So there is smoke, and it's coming from Behemoth. I commented on it earlier in this fight. So there is a problem with Behemoth. There is smoke coming from them. You can't see it much though. So I'm wondering, is that doing something to the smoke? What's burnt out, or what's currently burning? Well, we'll find out later, I think, maybe. Meanwhile, it's got to be a drive, because they're not really driving well, it has to be said. Blip 100% on top, and I'm slamming them into the wall, and they're driving themselves into the wall as well. That's not great driving. But now, Blip to get around the side of Behemoth and throwing them. Oh, nearly out of the pit. And down to the pit goes Blip. That is blowing them Behemoth flying. Look at this. Oh, so close. Nearly down the pit there. And then Blip, what are you doing? They've driven themselves into the pit. They've taken Behemoth with them, obviously. That is such a shame. But let's be real, I think from this fight, Blip very much dominated. Now they get Behemoth out of the pit. I don't think, well, the fight has ended with Blip driving themselves into the pit and Behemoth on top, standing tall. But throughout this fight, Blip 100% dominating this fight all the way, start to finish, and had this gone to the judges, it would have definitely gone Blip's way, if not for the pit. Either way, a very great fight. And there is the official ruling with Behemoth the winner, but Blip far more controlling, so in a way they do win their vengeance, even if they threw themselves down the pit. Now for Battle 7 with Picard, Destroy, and Clink M, with a little bit of uniqueness. The argument down in the pits is Clink M should have been here instead of Picard, Destroy, claiming them to be inferior. But in Battle of the YouTubers on the main channel, Picard, Destroy tore them apart, tore the teeth off the blades of Clink M, and then tore off the very weapon of Clink M. And it wasn't just that weapon, it was also the other weapon as well as their wheel. And Clink M were battered and beaten and bruised and smoking heavily. And one final attack here was all it took, and Clink M was sent down the pit. Picard Destroy went through, but Clink M wants their vengeance. Picard Destroy Spinner. Designed in a similar style to Tombstone and quite dangerous too, the Thunderbolt spinning bar can dish out some serious damage like it did in the Second Wars, and it's capable of driving both ways up. But the wheels are seriously exposed and can be easily struck. Clink M Spinner. The inspiration for this machine came from the Pokemon Clink, as well as seeing the weaponry for 13 Black, with the added bonus of being able to run both ways up. The blades are both very destructive and should definitely be looked out for, as well as the wheels, which are exposed.
Robot ears, stand by.
Picard Destroy with the Thunderbolt spinning bar, with the body sort of resembling Tombstone. And Clink M with two spinning gearheads, almost resembling 13 Black. And these have actually fought before, don't forget, in Battle of the YouTubers on the main channel.
2, 1. Activate.
They fought in the Heat Final, so this is also a grudge match as well. I don't know why Clink M thought they could do a better job than Picard Destroy. I mean, Picard Destroy battered Clink M, and right now I think it's sort of going the same way, although Clink M still doing well. Two of the attacks, I think a little bit better than they did before. They've not lost any teeth, but they are definitely flinging Picard Destroy away, and now Clink M thrown up and over, and that's going to cause a problem. Well, maybe not. We shall see. Picard Destroy attacking. So meanwhile, Clink M just spinning around on the spot, which is good. Like, it's a good defense. I will admit, Picard Destroy driving into the wall, that's not intelligent. But slamming into Clink M and battering them into the wall, that is good. And what is Picard Destroy doing? Why are they driving into the wall like maniacs? Well, oh! I think that's part of Picard Destroy's wheel there. So now they've lost a part of the wheel. They'll have to be careful as they fling it away. Oh well. Well, that's what I thought would happen eventually! Off comes the spinning gearhead blade! That happened before, look at this! There! Off it comes! And that's one less weapon for Clink M to use! And now, Picard Destroy, wheelless! One wheel left on their wagon! Which is not very good, to be honest. Poor Picard Destroy. Although, I think Clink M in more problems, smoke from the weapon, and suddenly the drive stopped. So, have they broken down? I think they have. and slammed into the wall, and the spike. Picard Destroy trying to stick around as the wall catches them off. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, I don't think there's anything left for Clink M to do. They're immobilized. Picard Destroy flung away as Caesar's called, and that's the end. Despite giving Clink M a bit more of a buffeting, but Picard Destroy, the clear winner, and that's all I can say. Honestly, I don't know why Clink M thought they could come out victorious this time round. They gave it a good shot, but sadly it ended the same way it did in Battle of the YouTubers. Now for Battle 8, Vader and Orange Swing, and this is a rather interesting one. This is where it comes from. It comes from the Bronze Rumble of Heat 4 in Series 2, as Vader takes on the now burning and immobilized Decapitator. But in the top left corner is Orange Swing being counted out, not moving. The weapon's going, but the drive is not. And that's the complaint Orange Swing is having. Not the fact that they were immobilized, more the fact that they were immobilized and weren't able to have a good, proper fight with Vader. That's the problem they're having, and they want to truly give Vader a fight. They want to show Vader they can be a good, true competitor, and Vader, they're up for it. So, let the battle begin. Vader Spinner. A dangerous weapon attached to a machine with not-so-tough armor. The armor is made out of polycarbonate, and the blade is quite destructive, as we saw against Orange Swing and Decapitator in the series. But the one thing going against them? No Shremek. Orange Swing Spinner. A machine built in similar design to Tombstone from the Last Wars. The wheels are from bicycles that the team painted orange and blue, with a big blue blade, and the ability to run both ways up. But the major issue for the machine is the high ground clearance.
Robot ears, stand by.
Vader with the flywheel, and the polycarbonate body shell, and Orange Swing with the Tombstone design, and the spinning bar, and the bicycle wheels.
3, 2, 1.
Will Orange Swing give a better performance this time round? Well, that answers that question. Yes, they will. Very entertaining. And definitely more aggressive as well, and damaging. They're hitting the side of Vader. Vader in trouble. And being pressurized by Orange Swing. They seem to have more purchase than Vader. Vader, their best bet's to go for the exposed wheels, or is Vader okay? I wonder. Well, they're still mobile, so clear. Orange Swing. Oh, Orange Swing on the edge of the pit. They dare not move. Down they go, and Orange Swing gone into the pit of oblivion. And it's Vader who gets the victory there. And I'm wondering if that was truly deserved by Vader, because Orange Swing were more on top. They were more effective in the weaponry, but this is the result. Vader, the winners, Orange Swing, down the pit and out. It may not have been the outcome they wanted, but Orange Swing did say that they mainly wanted to give Vader a fight, and a fight they did give, so at least they'll be going happy. And now for the final fight of the night between Firestorm, who are now back in the arena, and Smidzy. And you should remember this one because it caused a major upset in Heat 4 in the Silver Rumble, the same heat as Orange Swing and Vader when they fought Advanced Mimic. Firestorm couldn't really do much against Advanced Mimic or Smidzy. Smidzy controlled and pushed them both around. But here, this is where things changed, with Firestorm getting underneath Advanced Mimic and pushing, and Smidsy slamming them up against the wall and pinning them. And Firestorm had no way of coming down, and they were immobilized. Smidsy went through to the death or glory. Firestorm not all that pleased, and they want to show that they can beat Smidsy and show what would have happened if that hadn't happened. Fair enough. Firestorm, Flipper, Smidsy, Rambot. Once again making the death or glory before crashing out of that stage. The front wedge to help lift others off the ground, with the rear spinning blade to add rear defense. The machine can also run both ways up, but that's unfortunately its major issue, as it's easily flippable.
Roboteers, stand by.
The final fight of the night. Firestorm with the flipping arm and the rear spike, and Smidsy with the lifting wedge and the rear circular saw.
3, 2.
Well, let's say saw, it's more of a flywheel, but whatever. Rear blade thingy. And Firestorm now doing a lot better against Smidsy. They've flipped them up and over and pinned them against the wall. Now that's a great attack there. Smidsy able to get away from it using their lifting wedge as a sort of self-righting mechanism. Firestorm, however, seems more on top than they did in the silver rumble of their heat. Flipping Smidsy, throwing them onto their weapon. This is definitely more Firestorm's fight so far. They are more on top and more controlling, and throwing Smidsy once again onto the wall and pinning them there. But Smidsy can use that front wedge to right themselves, which is good. The only time they need to self-right. And now Smidsy slamming Firestorm into the wall themselves. And now again, and the spike can cause a problem for Firestorm. It did in the wild card against Harvester. It's not this time though, which is good. Smidsy now on top, slamming Firestorm, so they are getting back into the fight and are more on top right now. Is Firestorm able to come back into this? Well, probably. Firestorm needs to be careful though. Oh, what happened there? I don't know. But anyway, Smidsy now slamming Firestorm. And this has definitely turned on its head. Firestorm now being pressurized by Smidsy, and Firestorm were on top right from the start. And now they are in trouble, being battered and bashed. How can Firestorm come back? Well, they're underneath Smidsy now. And nope, not up and over. Almost. Again, almost up and over. There's a little spike. And now Firestorm now throwing Smidsy up onto the wall again. So they've come back into this Firestorm. It's great role reversal. Now Smidsy, what are they gonna do? They're gonna throw themselves down in the pit. Well, I don't know what happened there. They've righted themselves off the wall. And well, they're discombobulated, I think. And whoops. Suicide into the pit. And Firestorm gets the victory. Well done, Firestorm. They gain vengeance on Smidsy. Vengeance has been settled and disagreements have been quashed. Some got their vengeance and others sadly lost it. Maybe next time. But until then, thank you all for watching Series 2. And I look forward to seeing you in Series 3. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Farewell.